Welcome everyone to a special edition of Couch Potato Diary reacting to WWE Clash of the Castle Scotland in at the OVO or whatever at the Hydro in Glasgow. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Let's get right into it. Coming off of overall, I think a really interesting show. And obviously one that is going to be hotly debated as I think the hours go along. So holy cow, we got some that caught me off guard. We have thunder here in Calgary right now, and that got me. Okay, we start with Cody Rhodes, who defeated AJ Styles in an I Quit match to retain the undisputed WWE Championship. And I thought this was actually a really, really enjoyable match. The crowd was there for it the entire way. You had Cody, who I thought came out with the requisite amount of pissed offness to come out there and pick up get his retribution on AJ Styles for his dastardly underhanded tactics in how he came to this title match. And Cody comes out with the fire, right? Like, it's not okay. We're dancing, we're playing to the crowd. They're singing Cody, Cody Rhodes, Cody, Cody Rhodes. They're doing all that stuff. And so I was a little worried, like, okay, what kind of pandering are we going to get here? And Cody comes out and he immediately does the kick drop to the back, hits him with a punch. And it is a lot of Cody in the early going. And then eventually you get AJ Styles taking the offensive. And I had thought, and maybe I missed something on SmackDown, because I did not watch SmackDown, but I was expecting a Gallows and Anderson run-in of some sort. And that kind of building up Cody in that way. But we never really got that. We got Cody getting handcuffed, getting whipped with the Singapore cane. There was some chair usage in here as well. And then AJ goes out to talk to Mama Rhodes, and this pisses off Cody Rhodes, and Cody eventually is able to slip his hands free. AJ, though, is still on the attack, wraps a chain around his bicep and or around his forearm, I guess, and is going for the phenomenal forearm. As he jumps up, Cody throws a steel chair into his head, which will stop most maneuvers. AJ falls back and goes through the table. And then eventually Cody finds his way to the keys, unlocks the handcuffs, and now he is on the offensive. And he ends up handcuffing AJ Styles to the ropes, and he uses the cane, he uses the chair, just absolutely wearing out AJ Styles. And then he goes out and gets the steps. And I thought they did a good job on commentary of driving home the importance of these steps and what they meant to this whole feud, with AJ using the steps, jumping off of them, hitting the Styles Clash onto the floor in the inciting incident of this whole thing. And so I think that this was a really, really, really intriguing bout. And eventually, as he gets it, Cody is he's holding the steps, and AJ says, okay, I quit. And I got a little worried here, because I thought we were going to get the stereotypical, what have I done? What type of a monster have I become? What has this world made me? And instead, because Cody holds the stairs and he's kind of looking around, and he looks at his mom and he goes, should I? And she basically is like, yeah, fuck yeah, go for it. So Cody just hits the bejesus out of him with the steps. I like that, because I think there has been a bit of me that has been comparing this to, just in my mind, to some kind of a John Cena title run. And what would they do with John Cena? And honestly, what they would have done is Gallows and Anderson would have come out, and they would have been attacking Cody, and he would have had to somehow overcome and get this win. But overall, he comes out of this looking really strong. But John Cena, there also would have been a bit of you don't have that killer instinct in you. You can't do the type. You aren't going to go to the depths that I'm going to go to, and that sort of a thing. And Cody was just like, nah, fuck it, I'll hit you. So I liked that happened. It was funny though. You watch this bout, and it was good. It was a good hardcore match. But it is funny that we have an I Quit match where one guy's saying, I quit to steal steps. And in the other company, not comparing the two, anyway, not comparing the two, but You have one guy scared to get hit with steps, and the other, a dude was literally lit on fire before winning. And a guy was hung upside down and kicked in the face with thumbtacks. But before he eventually lost his bout. So just a bit of a comparison there. But as this was going on, there was one moment where AJ has Cody locked in the crossface, and Cody passes out. And they say, well, he can't say I quit if he doesn't or if he's passed out. And so I thought, okay, they're building this to something else. Even though an I quit match tends to be a blow off, I wonder if they're going to build this into like a last man standing match at Money in the Bank and get one more, a little bit more juice out of the squeeze, right? But after the match was done, before the bloodline situation came up, and we'll talk about that in a second here, but you have Michael Cole say, I wonder what's next for AJ Styles. And when he said that, my first thought was, oh shit, Goldberg's coming back. But I can't imagine that would be the case, although that'd be a really interesting matchup, actually. But again, neither here nor there. I do think the obvious move for AJ is a TNA run. I think that would be really, really cool given the crossover that we are seeing right now. Have AJ go over there and do a little bit with Gallows and Anderson and just have some fun. I think that would be great leading up to like a Slammiversary or even Bound for Glory, and then bring him back over for Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania time. I think that would be really, really interesting. In terms of what's next for Cody, it does feel like there is some sort of bloodline thing going on. As after the match, Solo comes out and kind of gives a bit of a smirk, like, hey, we're here. And then the new blood, as I'm calling them, because that's never been used in wrestling before. The new blood come out and they're like, okay, yeah, here we go. It's on. And then you get Randy Orton and Kevin Owens fighting them off. This one, like, I'm being I think a bit too protective of this bloodline, because like I've been saying for a bit, like Solo is the star that you want coming out of this. And admittedly, like I like the look. There's something about it that hasn't really clicked for me yet in the way that I thought it would when Solo eventually took over as like the main guy in this whole thing. And also, like, I like the Guerrillas of Destiny as a tag team, and I want them to succeed. And so I thought them just being easily fought off here, it was a good moment for the crowd, and it was fine. But it was it kind of made like it just didn't need to happen, I don't think, and it just kind of made them feel a little yeah. But it gets Kevin Owens and it gets all these guys on the show, and I think it does plant the seed that a bloodline feud is up next. And I think there's a lot of interest with where they could go with that. Is it just Hikuleo comes back, and you get the Tongans and Solo on one side, and it's Roman and whoever on his other side, and it's Bloodline v Bloodline in another Civil War type of a thing? Is Solo being like, hey, we got you, and it actually is The Rock coming back, and he is the guy who has been pulling all the strings all along here. I think there's some interesting ways to go, but we will see. I'm hoping that, like, I just, when the time came, I just wanted them to have Solo feeling a little bit like a bit more of an unstoppable force, and we haven't really got there yet. Same with the Guerrillas of Destiny. I just don't think they've got there with those guys yet. Up next, it was a triple threat match for the Women's Tag Team Championships as Alba Fire and Isla Dawn defeat Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill and Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. I thought this was a fine match. I thought that the way it was laid out was really interesting, where you have Bianca and Jade come out and just wreck shop early on. And then you get the heel teams with Fire and Dawn and Shayna and Stark going, let's team up here and fight these guys and then do our own thing. And then that kind of got Jade and Bianca out of the match for a lengthy amount of time, and then these two put on their stuff, and I thought that was fine. When Jade and Bianca came back, I do think it got a little clunky at times, and that is, it's where Jade is right now, in her development, and Alba and Isla have barely wrestled, as far as I know, over the last little while. So there was a bit of sloppiness in this, but I think it was interesting. And then out of nowhere, you have a real good tag team combination on Shayna Baszler, and Alba Fire and Isla Dawn come in. They throw Bianca and Jade out of the ring, and they pounce and they win the tag team titles. an interesting move. Like I think there is something there. Probably more with Isla Dawn. With Alba Fire than with Alba Dawn. But I think there's something there with both of these performers. I think the witch stuff got a little too out of hand toward the tail end at NXT and a bit on the main roster as well. But I think these are two very intriguing, very interesting performers. And I think a run with these belts maybe legitimizes them a little bit and creates a bit more depth now in the tag team division. I am surprised they are coming off of Bianca and Jade this quickly, so I am intrigued to see where we go from here with those two particular performers. And it was at this point that I thought, I think they're beating Drew. Because I thought there was no way Piper was going to beat Bayley, and I thought honestly there was no way that Alba and Isla were going to win this bout either, and they obviously they do that, and so that was part of my reasoning for the Drew McIntyre thing is they're not going to go into Scotland and beat every Scottish person, and so like Drew gets the win at the end of the night after their other two are kind of cannon fodder, but that wasn't the case. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn get the win. That was when I was like, oh shit, I think Drew might be losing tonight. More on that to come. Then a singles match for the Intercontinental Championship, as it is Sami Zayn and Chad Gable in a bout for the IC title. They go 22 minutes and 15 seconds, the second longest match on the card. This was heavy on story. These were two performers who I think gave it their all. I thought the Otis and Chad Gable stuff was really interesting, and how they got to it was really intriguing with kind of a spin-off from what we had the other night with Sami Zayn and Chad Gable, with Gable throwing Zayn into Maxine Dupree and she gets knocked to the floor and whatnot. I think there was some intrigue with that. With this time, Sammy is locked in the ankle lock. He rolls out of it. Gable goes into Otis. He rolls out of it. Gable goes flying and goes into Maxine. And that is how Maxine goes down. Otis is pissed, and he just like gets Maxine and leaves. Doesn't take it out on Gable, doesn't take it out on Sami Zayn. So you continue this on because any physicality toward Gable, I think, kind of blows the big spot here. But I do think Monday is where we get the Creed brothers coming in with Chad Gable. I think we get Ivy Nile turning on Maxine Dupree, and I think we get the new Alpha Academy and a full-blown Otis heel turn that I'm quite interested for. But this was a good match. I think that the stakes of the IC title have raised this feud with Chad Gable. As I talked about in the preview, this is how you take the heat from Gunther and now spin it into a couple of different performers, because it has now elevated Sami Zayn, and it has absolutely enhanced this feud that is about to happen with Chad Gable and Otis. And I think they've done a good job with that, and now I'm interested to see where they go with the IC title. A singles match for the WWE Women's Championship. Bayley defeats Piper Niven at 13:30. The highlight of the match was Chelsea Green getting ejected and then coming back in a Rey Mysterio Halloween Havoc mask, and Wade Barrett being like, oh my god, who is that? Allegedly Chelsea Green. That stuff was fun. This was I thought a good match. It's still... like, it's a tough spot for Bayley because, as I've said before, this babyface character just hasn't really clicked yet. And to have her go against the hometown girl, not a good way to get your babyface clicking. But I thought these two had a good match. And I've said before, like, Piper Niven is a talent that I'm really interested in. And I would like to see her be a bit more of a factor now in the women's division. And so if this is the start of that, then great. And then we get Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre for the World Heavyweight Championship. McIntyre got the big video thing at the beginning. They have a big fancy video at the start of the match. A band comes out, plays what is affectionately known as Roddy Piper's theme song, and then the music hits. This feels like a coronation for Drew McIntyre. And like when he came out, I was like, there's no way this guy's losing. There's no way. And the match goes on and it's good. There is a turning point moment where Priest is going for, I'm sure there's a technical name for it, but where you do the single leg leap off of the middle rope and then do a tope to the floor. And his feet get hung up, and how his entire leg didn't like a Mattel action figure and just right off. I will never know. That looked incredibly painful, and he somehow was able to survive that. But he was noticeably limping as the match went on. But I thought Drew covered it up well. He starts kicking him. He goes off and is like, ugh. And then I don't know if he got a word from someone or if he was just like, oh, well, this is how I get out of this. But he was like, I need to win the title, and I can't do that if you're in the ropes. So I'm going to get you out of the ropes, and then I'm going to fight you. So I thought that was a good bit of improv from those two. And then they had a really, really good match. Like the back and forth that they had. You get Priest hitting a South of Heaven. He gets a cover, no. McIntyre hits the Claymore. He gets a cover, no. And then you have a Hurricane Rana from the top rope, and McIntyre immediately pops up, hits the Claymore. You think that's it. It's a count of two, and no. And then we get the ref bump, and then McIntyre with another Claymore. It's one, it's two, or it's a long wait, and then another ref comes in. It's one, it's two, and the count stops, and the entire world at the same time realizes that CM Punk is in there counting, and McIntyre just looks pissed. And he goes to attack Punk, low blow, Priest hits South of Heaven. Uno, dos, tres. He is still the World Heavyweight Champion. So, a lot of different ways to go here. You are obviously setting up Drew against Punk at SummerSlam. Like, that is the big match for SummerSlam. And so having the title there is a hindrance because you have just made Gunther the number one contender. And I'm sure there will be ways to get around that, but it would kind of get in the way. And so now you have a world title match with Gunther and Damian Priest, and you have Drew McIntyre against CM Punk. So you kind of create two feuds here, I guess, out of just instead of just like the big main one with Drew and with Gunther. So in a way, it's fine. It just felt like this was the time, this was the place, and this is for them to not do it now. It's just like, man, how many times can you do this to this guy? And I am now ready for a Drew McIntyre babyface run and have him win the Royal Rumble and him go on to finish his story now at WrestleMania. I don't know if this was the right move. It felt like everything was building toward this guy winning this title and being a megastar. And I fully understand that I'm being emotional right now because I was just bummed at the end of it. And I don't think they killed the town or anything like that. I just wanted him to win. And I'm absolutely willing to admit that that is because I was fanboying out the whole time. I think Drew McIntyre is a star. And I have loved everything that he has done in this second act with WWE. And I just wanted him to win. And so I am maybe allowing that to cloud my analysis to whatever extent that it may be. But I wanted him to win. But logic does say you keep Damian Priest strong. This World Heavyweight title run has not reached its apex yet. You continue to build him as a star. You have Drew McIntyre not with the championship, but still being a star. You have two main events instead of one. All of that makes sense, but god damn it if I didn't want him to win that match. So, yeah, I am being a little bit of a brat when it comes to this. I just wanted him to win, but as you explain it out a little bit more, it does make more sense. But the other thing that I'm thinking is you have him lose to Damian Priest in 5 minutes and 46 seconds, and then he comes back. He loses a number one contenders match. And again, extenuating circumstances around all these. Loses a number one contenders match. Gets hurt. Comes back. Has a championship match. And loses. And now he gets CM Punk probably at SummerSlam. Anyone think he's winning? Because I think Punk probably wins that too. Like at some point, this guy has got to come out there and just kick the shit out of everyone and start winning a bunch of matches. And again, this is probably overthinking things and all of that. But yeah, that I was legitimately surprised to see all of that play out the way that it did. Okay, that is going to do it for the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Follow me on social media. I am at Primetime Klein everywhere on social media except for Twitch. That's twitch.tv/primetimepk. Hoping at some point this weekend to do a Tank Davis recap, but I can't promise anything right now. The weather, I think, is going to throw a bit of a wrench into Okotoks Dogs plans this weekend. So we will see how everything goes. But if nothing else, I'll be back Monday. Talk to you guys later. I am out.